Today we're going to look at the Admin Center for SharePoint and Microsoft Teams, and I'm going to be explaining some of the common admin activities that can be done in both centers. However, a lot more can be done using PowerShell. So that's just putting it out there. But today we're going to be using the GUI to explain all of the common activities that will be done. All right, this is me, and this is who I am. So moving into the Admin Center. All right, so this is what an overview of the SharePoint Admin Center, what it looks like. You get there by going to admin.microsoft.com, and we'll look at that together in a bit. This is an overview of what it does. I have a URL here which I'll share in the chat window, where you can go to and read more about all of the features that are available in the SharePoint Admin Center. All right, so the highlights of what we'll be looking at today are the usage reports. We'll look at sites, policies, and also the migration element of SharePoint. So I'll jump out of my slide now. We'll come back here to look at the next items and go into the SharePoint Admin Center. Let me put this up here. So this is SharePoint Admin Center, and you access it by coming to admin.microsoft.com, which is Microsoft's admin homepage. And from there, you'd see all of the admin sites centers that are available. Then you click on show all, and this is SharePoint. So you can select SharePoint and you see this page right here. All right, so on the landing page of SharePoint, you can see the file activity report and the usage report. And this basically shows us what has happened in the last 30 days on our tenants, right? Number of files that have been shared, that have been synced, that have been viewed, that have been shared externally and internally. And we can also see the sites that have been active over the period against the total number of sites that we have in the tenants. So when you over on the data points, you can see a brief summary about it. So we have a total of 44 sites as at the 21st of May, 2021. And the total active sites out of those 43 sites are 1. And basically, it goes all the way down that way for the 30 days reports. All right, the service health is here. It shows us if there's any message for us regarding SharePoints. And we can see that we have one advisory message here. And these are the other messages from the message center. So the message center holds various types of messages of all the services across Office 365. But this is filtering to show that's which concerns SharePoint, right? And you can read about it. So sometimes message center can contain things like upcoming updates that Microsoft is working on, some of the things that will be deprecated in the SharePoint area in this case. So all of these things are things that we need to take note of as admins. Okay, so let's go into our sites. Active sites. So now as we know, or as we should know, that for every team we create in Microsoft Teams, right? So when I say team, I mean like the team we have at the moment for our tech deep dive sessions. There is a SharePoint site created with it. So the way it works is we have what we call the Microsoft 365 groups. So when you create a team, that Microsoft team that you have created sits on an M365 group. And every M365 group has a SharePoint site along with it. So, which means that for every team we create, we will get a SharePoint site. So you can see here, this is our Textilers deep dive. So this is the Microsoft team that we created. We are having all of our sessions. And within that team, we have a SharePoint site for it. Now that's where all of the documents that we have are saved into. So we have this Files tab in Teams. If I come here, wrong account. Okay, so let me show you from here. Right, so if you come here and you go to Tech Deep Dive, you can see this is a team, right? And within each of the channels, even on the team, we have the files, and we can upload documents here. So all of these documents that are uploaded within team sits in SharePoint, and that's why you can see Open in SharePoint tab, which takes us directly into the SharePoint page. So now this tab shows all the active SharePoint sites that we have within the tenants. It shows you who the primary admin is, the storage, what template it was built with, what the activity is like, date it was created, person who created it. Is it a Microsoft? Does it have a Microsoft 365 group? For every team that we have created, you will see a yes on that. And all of the other things that we see by the side. So let's pick one, for example. So let me take this. So when you select one, you can see further things you can do here. So I can edit the owners. I can add additional admins, to the site and save. You can decide to share it. You can also decide to do other things with the on the site. Like yes. So you can, sorry, 1 second. So these are some of the other things that you can do within a particular site. And of course, you can also delete a site if it's no longer required. And it's going to come into the deleted site sections. And you can see that the site will retain for 93 days before it is permanently deleted. Okay, so that's an overview of sites. Then we come into policies. Under policies, we have sharing. The admin can control the way documents are shared in SharePoint by dragging this bar to and fro, right? So you can see the different levels here. Anyone, users can share files or folders using links that do not require signing, which is the most permissive. So if I have a document in my SharePoint or in my OneDrive, I can decide to share it across with anybody. Whether you have a Gmail account or Hotmail or Live, and anybody can view it. It's the new and existing guests, and only people within the organization. That's the least permissive. So as you drag down the arrow, you can see that of OneDrive is also coming down because OneDrive documents are stored in SharePoint. So you can decide to have a more permissive So you can't decide that you want to give SharePoint the least permissive and give OneDrive the most permissive. It's not possible because OneDrive documents also sits within SharePoint. That's why, you can't have a more permissive permission than what is existing in SharePoint. So I can decide, as I'm dragging, it's coming back to that level because that's the level where SharePoint is at. Okay. So other things here are speaking to, files and folders link, basically all around sharing. Only those in my organization, view or edit rights, and all that. So you can also decide on the type of access control. That's those that can access the content in SharePoint, on managed devices, idle sessions, what should happen to them. So these are the current settings that we have on the environment. If the session is idle, it automatically locks users out. If you have unmanaged devices, you restrict access from those devices that are not compliant or joined to the domain. So all of these are the policies that we have in place. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at, where is my slide? All right, so we talked about usage, size, policies, then migration. Now, a lot of companies have their data sitting in different storage services or storage locations. And some of the most common examples are the things that we can see right here. So sometimes we have file shares, like a lot of old companies. You see that they use file shares a lot. They use file shares. So file share is just a location, a server that a lot of folders have been created on, and people save their documents there. So this was a very common practice back in the days before the cloud became very massive. And you can put a file there and share it with people in your organization, and they can access it there. So some organizations have all of their files still sitting on this file shares, and they now that their company has bought Office 365, they need to move those files to the cloud. So, that's some of the migration situations that we have, and these are all of the other ones. Some organizations are using the old SharePoint solutions, maybe 2010, 2013, 2016. I remember recently I had to do a migration from 2010 to the cloud. So those are some of the situations that we have, and all of this are the possible solutions that can be used to migrate them. So for this, Microsoft has a SharePoint migration tool that can support and assist to do this. Of course, outside of all of this, we still have third-party tools that organizations can buy and use. But these are the out-of-box solutions that Microsoft has for migrations. Any questions?
So is it a best practice then to have one site per project?
When you say, do you mean like SharePoint site or a team workspace?
The SharePoint site.
Yes. So when you talk of best practice for SharePoint, it's highly dependent on the organization's existing approach to how they want to manage their documents. So I'll give you an example. From my experience, what's usually done is we would have different SharePoint sites per team. Right? So when I say team, I mean, say all of the guys in HR will have their space, all of the guys in audit will have their space, all the guys in compliance will have their space. And then sometimes when we then have projects to work on that brings individuals from different departments together. So let's say we have a project called Return to Work. And returning to work project has to have somebody from HR, has to have somebody from like the logistics team, has to have somebody from the compliance team, maybe somebody from the health team, and all of those type of people, maybe a project manager, come together to form that team. Then that for that purpose, a site will be created where they can store documents and all those things relating to that particular project. Now, with the shift to teams in the last 2 to 3 years, all of these things are now done creating a team as opposed to creating a SharePoint site. So you would have a team for HR, you have a team for compliance, a team for audit, a team for all of those guys. Then when there is a project, then you have a team called Return to Work. and that will be it's Microsoft Teams team where they can put in all their files, they can have conference calls, they can set up regular meetings in the channel, and they can do all of that. So that's the yes, bye-bye.
Okay.
So that's the current approach now. So to short answer to your question is yes, it's best practice to have a team per project, because then sometimes those teams would those projects would finish up, and if the organization has done their team's governance properly, they would have probably a 90 or 180 days of idleness policy set in place, which means if that team site has not been used in the past 90 days, it's going to be archived. So then that project site can then be archived.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so let's look at the OneDrive Admin Center. So OneDrive also has an admin center from SharePoint, and we'll just look at some of the settings available to us there. So from here, I can click on OneDrive. Okay, so let's look at sync. So we have these various options. Available to us on here in OneDrive. You can see it just says use the settings to control syncing of files in OneDrive and SharePoint. So you want to show the sync button, allow syncing only to PC joined to specific domain, block sync of specific file types. Then we have the storage. So you can start to set storage limits for your users, and also retention for deleted users. Now, when you say storage limits, this is like OneDrive limits per user limit in the cloud. Then retention for deleted users. So in some organizations, they have policies around retaining documents for users who have left the organization. Especially when I was with the bank, it was very critical that, because sometimes the bank will need to audit a user who has left a couple of years ago, and we may need to retrieve a particular document from the person's OneDrive. So that number of years it needs to comply with what the policy says. So if the policy says from date of exit, from the date the user exits the accounts, the files and the mails of that user must be available for the next 3 years. Then your OneDrive needs to be able to retain those files for the next 3 years. Otherwise, there will be serious compliance or audit issue when audit says, I need to audit this user's account. Can you recover the files? And then IT can recover because they had not set the policy, retention policy rights for OneDrive. So these are some of the important things that an admin needs to understand and use. It basically talks about device access, and there's also mobile application management. But Microsoft has a separate platform for mobile device management, the Intune, and also we have the conditional access policies in Azure AD, where you can specifically say what you want to happen on the organization's applications as they are accessed by various devices. So for example, I can say if a user is accessing OneDrive from any mobile device, maybe an Android device or a Android and an iOS device, ensure that the user cannot download documents. The user cannot download documents when that user is accessing a device, a file on a managed or domain joined device. So those type of settings are settings that are available in Intune or conditional access policy. Okay, so notification also talks about how to control the notifications. It says you can email the OneDrive owners when other users invite additional external users to the shared files. So let's assume that you shared a file with a particular user and that person extends that invite to another person. You want the original owner of the file to be informed that this person has, shared your link with another person. So these are all, and then you can decide to turn it off or keep it on as required. Okay, so let me go to Teams. So Microsoft Teams Admin Center is used to manage Teams in its entirety. So Teams, Teams created in Teams, meetings, chats, and all of that. So sometimes you can see when some people, maybe you've attended some meetings and the chat has been disabled. For example, the last session we had, inspirational session that we had, the chat was disabled for people who had joined as guests and they couldn't interact with it. So all of those type of things are done from the Teams Admin Center. And in the Admin Center for today, we'll look at specific common settings that are used. So manage Teams policies, template policies. We'll look at the users, we'll look at meeting and messaging policies, and also the Teams app policies and settings. Okay, so let's come back here. Come to our admin center and click on Teams. All right, so this is what the Teams admin center looks like. Like I said, PowerShell is it because you can do a whole lot of complex things with PowerShell. However, on the admin center, you can also do a couple of things. So this shows you an overview of what your Teams looks like, user activities for the past number of days, if there are any release notes from Microsoft, when the account was created, what country or region you're in, and all. So let's come to Teams, and we say Manage Teams. So in Manage Teams, you have a summary. We have a total of 533 users in our Teams, 4 internal, 529 guests, and you can see a list of all the teams that has been created in these tenants. Then you can go ahead and see other things, standard channels, private, team members, owners, guests, what privacy has been set, is it active or not, and all of it all the way down. So let's see. You can click into it and see additional settings, who the members are, the channels, and other things you can do on it. So you can decide around the conversations, if people can edit the messages they have sent or not, and also the channels, different things that are possible within the channels, like allow people to edit, remove, add tabs, and all of this. So that's how the admin can manage a team that's already been created. Then you can also create a team from here, a new team, and also be created from here by the admins. So in some scenarios, you may have a situation where the organization has decided that only the team's administrators can create teams, and they gray out this option from every other person. So when people come here to Teams, they are not able to see this create a team button. So maybe what happens is whenever users want a team, they have to send an email, and then somebody comes here at the back end and says add, and then create the team manually. But this is a very manual approach. Anyway, there are better approaches of creating teams. There are automated options of doing that, but that's also part of the team's governance, right? So we have teams policies. Teams policies is a place where you set your usually have or always have this global policy by default. And then you can either add users here or add users here and apply it. You can't remove users from here, unfortunately. You either have to do through PowerShell or you have to come to users and then remove the policy there. But every user needs to have a policy by default. So policies can be assigned either the way I showed it, like clicking on a policy and then adding users to it. Sorry. And then adding users to it, or you use group policy assignments where a group has been created already, maybe a security group, and then you can come here and then add that particular group to that policy. Do I have any? Okay, all of these are M365 groups, so you can select it and then decide on a particular policy that you want to assign to the group. And the ranking means that this particular policy will take effect first before any other policy. Okay, then we have Teams templates. So by default, when you come to create a team here, you see loads of templates here, right? All of these templates are coming from the admin center here. From here. So and Agasham may decide we don't need all of this. I mean, why do we need patient care? This is not a hospital. Or why do we need this and that? And then from the template policies, you can hide. You can hide those particular templates. So you can come here and just click on hide. You can come to hospital and click on hide. You know, and by the time you go back to your team, you don't see hospital or patient anymore. Okay, it's still showing up, probably taking some time. But that's what happens when you hide it. It won't show up here anymore. So that's this. Then you can also create your own custom template and add it here. So you create a new template. You know, if you have an existing one, you want to start from an existing template. So what is this template? What's the whole idea of this template? The whole idea of the template is it's let me see if I've used any before. It comes with defined Teams channels and apps or tabs, right? So you don't have to create from scratch. So for example, if your organization is an event company and really any team that's to be created would need any event that needs to happen will need an event team site created for it. You can decide to have this manage an event as a standard template that your users can use. And these are the things you see there. So by default, it automatically comes with 7 channels and 8 applications. So Microsoft has sat down and thought that, okay, whenever anybody wants to manage an event, these are the channels and applications that they will most likely need. So when you click on next, all of this appears in the team that you created. You know, so that's the whole idea of the templates. So users don't have to start thinking by themselves on how to go about creating the templates. But once they come here and once they come to create a template, create a team and they click that template, automatically get all the things they've available for them. So that's how template works. Have any questions?
No, I'm happy.
Great. All right, so we'll move to users. So users helps you to manage the users, basically what it means. So you can see from here details about the users. If I click on admin, as an example, I can see, the call quality. I can see if the policies that this user has been assigned to. So meeting policy, messaging policy, and all that. I can decide to edit live events policy. So the policies are the things that really drive teams and that a lot of organizations use. When you get into some very structured type of organizations, they can decide only a specific set of people can do specific things. For example, they can say they really want these specific people to record meetings. So when we get to meeting policies, we'll see more of that. They can decide to say they want only these specific people to send messages, or to set up live events. So let me go there. So when you create a policy for that, you can then attach that policy to those particular individuals directly. So let's see, let's talk about this so it makes more sense. Right, so we have meeting policies. So I would take this as an example. So this is a policy that we created for our tech deep dive. And this is a standard meeting policy. So it says, allow meet now in channels. Right, so let me, oops, 1 second. I want to drag this. That makes sense. When you go to a channel and you see something here like meet now. Here, meet now. So that's what that means. So he wants to say, do you want people to be able to do that? Yes or no? Close it up. Sorry. Close the entire thing. Let me come back here. Every standard and structured Teams deployment, the first thing they need to do is they need to do their Teams governance. So a Teams governance session is a session where you are able to have these conversations with decision makers and literally walk them through all the settings that are possible to say, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And then they can say yes, yes. Oh, I'm stuck on that account. Oh. Okay, so can't get in. Let me see. I have it opened here. All right, so settings, meeting. So you can define all of those very granular things here. Allow Outlook add-in, allow channel meeting scheduling, and all of these things. Then you come to audio and video. Do you want to allow transcription, cloud recording, content sharing? Do you want people to share the entire screen or just a single application? Allow participants to request control, allow external participants to give or request control, allow PowerPoint sharing, whiteboard. So all of these things, to us, it may sound like whatever, doesn't matter. But in some organizations, these things are really key, and they want to know that they can turn on or off these settings for various compliance reasons to the organization. So you start talking about guests. Do you want them to be able to meet in private? Do you want to allow meeting in private meetings? Do you want them to join the meeting? Do you want them to start off a meeting, or do you want them to wait? So sometimes when you join a meeting, to tell you wait, would let the organizer of the meeting know that you are waiting. Do you want them to have presenter rights? So all of these things are what the whole policy is about. And as you can see on my screen, you can have different policies, and then you can assign them to different people. But for a meeting policy, you can assign it to different individuals. Then when you now come here to users, so for example, if I assign this meeting policy to admin, add, and then you come to users, you can see that if I go to admin here, which admin am I now? I think it's this one. It's not showing it. But then when you come here, you see here that the meeting policy will show tech deep dive under this particular place. So that's about meeting. Then you also have meeting settings. Allow anonymous users to join the meeting. These are general settings. You want to put in your URL, your logo, any legal URL you have. So say maybe some legal terms. Just let you know that the meeting you're about to join is whatever. Maybe you want to learn about their data privacy, that meeting will not be recorded, or it's be recorded, and you're joining, so them that if they join the meeting, that means that they are fine with it and all that. You put that here. And you also have the live events policies, or you can say allow scheduling, allow transcription, who can join scheduled live meetings. And when you say everyone in the organization, it means the person has to either be a member or a guest in that organization, or everyone is open to everybody. Then who can record? Always record, never, only the organizers. So in the same vein, you also have for the messaging policies. So you can see all of these settings here. Giphy content rating, do you want to give it on or not? Do you want chat on? Do you want people to use memes and stickers? Some organizations may not like the whole idea of, why are you allowing people to use memes? No, I don't want it. And you can turn it off for them. And you can also decide, okay, some people can use it, some people can't use it. Then you start to have multiple policies. And you say, okay, let's create a new policy and allow some people to use it. Then you start to assign those specific policies you have created to different individuals. So that's how the messaging policy works. Now move on to the manage apps under team apps. So the manage apps is, I don't know if you have any questions around messaging before I move to manage apps.
Can I just ask about the Giphy content rating? What does that mean?
So all of the Giphies are rated in a particular way at the back end. So I believe that some of them may be extreme by virtue of the way it has been rated. So if you decide to say you want the moderate one, it means, okay, some of it, as they've been uploaded in the back end, they've been rated. On what rating standard, I don't really know, but there's some rating behind each of them. And if a company says no restriction, you may start to see some funny ones popping up, or some that has been tagged no restriction. If they say strict, you may not see some GIFs anymore. So all of it is based on the way those images have been tagged at the back end when they were uploaded.
Okay, and those ratings are attached then to the actual Jiffy library, so they'd be rated the same all over the different platforms.
In Teams, at least.
Okay.
So in Teams globally, there's a specific way that they've been rated.
Oh, okay.
So yes.
In Teams.
I'm not sure there's a standard rating across. When I say across, I mean across all messaging provider platforms. So or Zoom or Teams, or I don't know. But I know that in Microsoft it will be standard. So whether your tenant is in Nigeria or your tenant is Nigeria, whether your tenant is in Europe or you have or your tenant is in America, whatever tenants that your Teams is working from will have the same rating.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about manage apps. So in Teams, by default, all applications are available. So all applications, applications from third-party providers, they've created something and they published it to the Teams store. It's all there by default. And all allowed on your tenants. So by allowed, it means that any user can add the app either to their tab. So when I say tab, I mean like coming here and searching for something, here like that. Or maybe come here and more apps, and you can see loads of them like that. Various ones. So that's it by default. However, some organizations don't want their users to be using all of this because they don't even know what it is, and they don't want to expose their organization or their organization's data to some third provider or some vendor that they don't even have a clue of. So it's here you start to have that conversation. So you see, Teams governance is a very big thing, a very important thing. So it's during that governance conversation you start to say, okay, Microsoft has 1,014 apps, items. Do you want them to be allowed or not? Then you start to go over it. They can say, what is this one on one? Or please, we don't want block. Then like that. Another thing that can happen is when it comes to the permission policies, you can also do that from here. 1,014 applications is too much for me to review. Is there no faster way? And you can say, okay, yes, you know what, you can create an app policy, a custom one. I will say add a new app policy. And from here, we can start to say, okay, you can decide and say, okay, Microsoft apps. You can say allow all Microsoft apps, allow specific apps and block all others. Block specific apps and allow all others, or block all applications. So this way, you see, the work, it becomes easier. So in my tenants, I have block specific apps and allow all others. So these applications are the ones that have been blocked on my tenant, and all the other ones are allowed. Well, not on my tenant, on this app policy. Then you can say third-party apps. Then block all apps. So that way, any app that is not a Microsoft application will be blocked. And then custom apps. So the custom apps are the apps that maybe your organization built a custom team app. So the developers in-house built something for your organization. Say maybe an inventory app using C# or something, and then they imported the application into your tenants. So that's not a third-party app because it wasn't done by a vendor and it's not a Microsoft app. So those apps are seen as a custom app. Also, if I build an app with Power Apps and I export it to Teams, it is seen as a custom application too. So you can decide and say the same options are here, block everything, or you just say, okay, allow specific ones, and then you can select the apps you want to allow from here, and you just allow only those ones and block all the others. So it may even be those same third party. If you are here, it may be some particular third party applications that are being used by, or maybe the project managers or the procurement team. You can look for it. Yeah, it's okay. We use Jira, so we have to allow Jira, and then you just add it and all. So after you have done all of this, you can now apply this test permission policy to specific users. You understand? I don't have any custom maps. So after this is created, then you can then assign it to users. And then those users will use this policy. So that's how the permission policies work. And then the setup policy is talking about the things that show up on the right-hand side of Teams. So like these items, the organization can actually customize them to suit what they want. So you can see activity chart team. So I can decide I don't want activity. What's this about? Remove it or move it down. It's not a priority, or move it up. Or I want to add some other important application. Oh, Jira is important to our organization. And you add it. And you can also search based on an app policy. So if I pick this, the search results will be based on what I've set here. So here if I say block all third party, and then I'm searching, I won't get any result from a third party because it's searching based on this. So when you click on add, what happens then is you see the app pop up here, and here you now see that particular app in the location you have asked it to be. Yeah. And if you don't want anyone, you can remove it. I don't want files. And remove it. It won't show up there. So that's Teams and Teams administration, and it shows how effective and how detailed Teams administration is. Gives the users extensively various options, and they can set it even down to particular users in the organization or to a group of people in the organization, and ensure that Teams is used in the exact way that suits the compliance and audit policies of that organization. So this brings me to the end of my class. I don't know if you have any questions around any of the items covered.
Well, thank you so much. That was actually really interesting. I didn't know how much you could do with Teams, especially with like security, and even putting like the Meet Now thing up on the top. Like, that's really interesting.
Yes, it is very, very interesting.
Yeah, even like with the Jiffy stuff as well. So I was really interested in that there's like a rating behind the scenes.
There is, and your company can also decide, what is this Jiffy about, please? We don't want it. And it goes out completely.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I could never figure out how other people had different icons on the left-hand side. And I was like, what's wrong with my Teams? I thought mine was